thought of food. Think happy thoughts. It was a nice day in Ponyville. Warm, but not hot. Some clouds scattered around the sky, the perfect day to get things done. And many ponies were doing just that. The market was busy, a veritable hive of activity. The streets were crowded with ponies pulling carts, waiting in lines, haggling, and simply passing through to their next errand. The air was full of the sounds of chatter and laughter. Between two market stalls, there was a changeling, holding a wooden sign attached to a sharpened stake, carefully keeping it standing up straight. Whack, whack, and another whack. A chitinous lime-green hoof fell heavily onto the top of the sign, driving it into the soft dirt, with the same hoof pressed against it, checking its sturdiness. Satisfied, the pastel bug smiled at the result. The sign itself was made of 3 planks nailed shoddily together, then nailed onto the sharp stake. Dangerous pointy bits of iron protruded where the nails had gone through the wood. Large red letters were painted onto the face of it with several thin, jagged lines extending down from them, where the paint had dripped. "Feed me," it said. The changeling hummed happily and sat on his haunches in the grass next to the sign. He put on a huge, dorky grin and stayed like that, observing passing ponies and observing their culture, and maybe a little excess emotion that passed his way. His brightly colored green chitin shined brilliantly into the sun. His small horn looked especially wicked as it glinted into the late morning light. Most ponies who glanced his way looked concerned or confused. A few seemed genuinely interested, but ultimately too busy to stop for him. No matter. He wasn't starving. This was just to meet some ponies and get to know them while getting a little meal on the side. He was an ambassador. King Thorax had sent him to Ponyville as a permanent representative of the reformed changeling hive. His job was basically to make new friends and show ponies what they were all about. Answer questions, learn about ponies, and ultimately making sure Ponyville got along with them. He was pulled from his thoughts as a mare suddenly trotted up to him.
"Oh, here you go,"
she said cheerily, placing a half-eaten sandwich onto the ground in front of him. He could feel a small surge of pride emanating from her as she smiled more to herself than to the changeling. "Huh? What? Hey, you dropped your sand—" he started to say, but she was already walking away and couldn't hear him. "Which... Shrugging, he leaned down and ate it off straight from the ground. Less than a minute later, he sat back up, chewing on the last bite of the sandwich, not minding the bits of dirt and grass that had come with it. His face was flecked with crumbs and soil. The pony food," he said to himself. He felt a sudden spike of disgust directed at him, emanating from a nearby pony. He turned his head to swivel his ear tubes towards the source, curiously. He saw a small, light, pink filly talking to a middle-aged mare who he presumed was her mother. The filly's mane and tail were a faded purple with off-white streaks running through them. Atop her head was a delicate-looking crown of thin, overlapping silver arches topped with silver circles. Her mother had a coat of a darker, faded pink and a deep purple mane with subtle streaks just a small shade lighter. Her nose looked permanently upturned, as if doing it too much had gotten it stuck like that. The changeling could feel the disgust pouring off her as she glanced his way. "Yes, Mother, really, I'm going over there with or without you," said the small one, confirming his suspicion that they were mother and daughter. He cheered internally at that small success and continued listening. "We really shouldn't associate ourselves with riffraff, Diamond Tiara, but if you insist," she said with a forced smile. "I do," the one called Diamond Tiara said with a pleased grin, and trotted towards the changeling. He could feel some trepidation from her, but it was mostly overwhelmed with curiosity and excitement. Her mother, on the other hoof, was a ball of anxiety. She looked around as if she was worried and she might be recognized by one of the many ponies around her. He could sense fear, but oddly, none of it was for her daughter, only herself. Soon they were both standing in front of him. Hi there, I'm Diamond Tiara, and this is my mom, Spoiled Rich. Who are you?" the filly asked. "The ambassador," he replied cheerfully. "Your name is the ambassador?" she asked, confused. "Well, I don't have a name, but it can be." "Wait, you don't have a name?" Sensing the confusion building up, he decided to settle this before it got out of hoof. Yes, it's Ambassador. My name is Ambassador," Ambassador said. "Oh, okay," she said, ignoring the many questions and doubts she had just so she could get past this awkward introduction. "So, Mr. Ambassador, are you hungry?" Ambassador shook his head. "No, not really." More confusion from the little filly came up. "Well, what are you doing here then? Why does the sign say feed me?" I'm ambassading? Uh, huh. Um, Meeting ponies and representing the Reformed Changeling Hive, and maybe getting a meal on the side. But I thought you said you weren't hungry. I'm not, but I'd never turn down a good meal. Well, we don't have any food. Well, sure you do. No, we don't. Wait, she said, pausing as she remembered something. Changelings eat emotions, right? Is that what you mean? Yep. You might want to add that to the sign then, so ponies don't think you're asking for, food? Oh, that's why that pony dropped the sandwich by me, he said in realization. Thanks, little pony. Diamond Tiara. But I don't have my paint here to fix the sign. No matter, I'll do it later. Diamond Tiara giggled at the chipper changeling. So, are you, eating my emotions right now? Well, nope, Ambassador said. Well, a little, I guess? It's hard to explain. Right now I'm just absorbing whatever excess comes off of you and other ponies. Did you want to try feeding me? A sharp stab of discomfort came from Spoiled Rich, like an icy spike piercing his soul. It seemed maybe she did care for her daughter some. That is, if your mother is okay with it, Ambassador was quick to amend, keeping his happy smile in place as he turned to her. The older mare's smile was so awkwardly forced, even a blind pony could see through it. It's up to her, really, the mare said. Today is her day, after all. It's my birthday, Diamond Tiara blurted. Oh, happy birthday, Ambassador said with a cheerful wave of his hoof. Thank you, and yes, I do want to feed you. What do I have to do? Ambassador laid down on his belly so that his face was level with hers, and tilted his head down. All you have to do is touch my horn and think happy thoughts. Careful though, it's sharp. And just pull away if you want to stop at any time, he said with a warm gentleness that reassured the filly. With only slight nervous hesitation, Diamond Tiara reached a hoof forward and lightly brushed the side of Ambassador's horn. She instantly felt an odd and somewhat uncomfortable sensation. It was as if some kind of hole had been opened into her soul, and at any moment it could slip through and be lost forever. She felt incredibly vulnerable, but trusted the changeling enough to keep her hoof pressed against his horn. Then she remembered what he had said. Happy thoughts, she thought to herself. Just think happy thoughts. She ignored the odd and somewhat terrifying feeling of being so exposed, and focused on memories of good times. Her mind saw her best friend Silver Spoon sitting across from her at a table, smiling and sipping a chocolate milkshake from a straw. That quickly melted away to the moment she befriended the Cutie Mark Crusaders and how they had helped her rediscover her own talent. She then thought of her father and how he had taken her to Manhattan to see the sights there. The whole time she could feel something draining from her, but it wasn't at an alarming rate, just strange. Suddenly, the feeling stopped as Ambassador pulled away from her and stood up. She wobbled, surprised at how unsteady she felt. Okay, that's enough. I don't want to drain you too much, he said with a smile. Thank you, Diamond Tiara. That was tasty. You seem to have a lot of love inside you. The filly blinked a few times and shook her head as if to clear it. Oh, you're welcome, Mr. Ambassador. Were you reading my mind? He shook his head. No. I can't tell what you're thinking, just what you're feeling. Huh. It still felt weird, she said, already feeling back to her normal self again. I'm glad I could help. Are you still hungry? Well, I can pretty much always eat more, but any more from you would start to tire you out, and I don't want to ruin your birthday. No, not me, she said with a sly smirk. Her! Diamond Tiara pointed a hoof at her mother, who gasped and dropped her jaw in shock. Absolutely not, Diamond Tiara, the mare said. It's quite enough that you fed that thing, but I would never. It wouldn't be proper. The little filly turned on her mother angrily. Mother, she said with a dangerous edge to her tone, it's my birthday, and you promised. Anything I want today. Spoiled Rich pulled her head back and looked around as if there might be some escape, then sighed and resigned. Well, very well, she said curtly, and stepped in front of Ambassador. Her upturned nose turned up even more with a backwards tilt of her head, and she held out a hoof. Let's get this over with. Ambassador was pretty sure he knew how this would go, but decided to do it anyway for Diamond Tiara. Steeling himself, he tilted his head down and gently touched the extended hoof with the side of his horn. She shuddered in discomfort, but said nothing. Okay, just like she did. Just think happy thoughts, he reminded her. Spoiled Rich thought of her greatest defining moments, when Filthy Rich proposed to her, securing her a place among the elites, her first trip to Canterlot as a wealthy mare, and how she successfully mingled with the posh ponies she had once been envious of. The moment she had met Shirley, a rival from her childhood, and rubbed her wealth in her smug face. Sure, she pretended to be happy, but now she was a homely, impoverished mare teaching Spoiled Rich's daughter. Huh. Then she thought of her daughter. Possibly her biggest Ambassador jerked his horn away from her as soon as she sensed what seemed like a bottomless chasm of buried shame and regret. The selfish pride, the narcissistic love of herself, and even the Skaden food were all edible, but the things that followed felt utterly toxic to him. As he quickly was to break the contact, what he absorbed still made him feel slightly ill. Thank you, Miss Rich, he said quickly, managing to keep a pleasant smile. She looked at him with a judgmental sneer and snorted before stepping aside. Are you full now, Mr. Ambassador? Diamond Tiara asked, unaware of what happened. Yes, the changeling lied. Thank you both. Yay! I knew that would work, she cheered. Smiling broadly, she continued. Well, we should go. I still gotta go pick out a cake and see my friend Silver Spoon. It was nice meeting you, Mr. Ambassador. The two ponies turned and began to leave. You too! Happy birthday! He shouted after her, his normal cheerfulness returning. Thank you! She yelled back, then disappeared into the crowd of ponies. Ambassador sighed and silently wished her well. He grabbed his sign and pulled it easily from the dirt, and it needed to be fixed anyway, which he could only do at home. Holding it with a hoof, he leaned it against his shoulder and started trotting towards his burrow at the edge of the forest. It may have been a short day, but he did get one good meal and name out of it, and half a sandwich.